3, 2, 1.
Kiss me, fat boy!
Howdy, my dudes, and welcome to the Fright Night Podcast, the podcast where we talk about horror and stuff. We still don't have an intro. I'm B.
I'm Georgia.
That's Greg, and today we're talking about It, Chapter 1 and mostly Chapter 2.
Yeah.
So, I think we're just gonna, in the words of Philip DeFranco, jump right into it today. So, the way this is gonna work is we're gonna give a brief summary, a brief rundown of our thoughts on the first film, and then, since the second film is the newest one out, we're kind of gonna briefly run through that and then share our thoughts on that one as well.
Yep.
Does that sound good? Okay. So, we're gonna start with the first scene of the first movie. Would just quickly like to say, because I always forget, there will be spoilers. If you haven't seen It Chapter 1 or It Chapter 2, you might want to turn it off. I will say when we're going into Chapter 2. So, if you've seen it, listen. If you haven't seen it and you don't care, listen. Otherwise, would strongly recommend going to watch them first. So, With that said, we'll start with the first scene of the first movie, because that makes sense. Probably one of the most iconic scenes from the story of It, whether that's the book, the miniseries, or the new film.
It was heartbreaking.
It was really sad, and that's obviously Georgie's death. So Gregory, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it was done really well, and it had that shock value because we've never seen it before. Like in the miniseries, it wasn't shown because of the budget, or that's what we think.
And the rating and everything.
Yeah.
To keep it not too mature for television.
Yeah. But I just think he's such a good actor, both of them, and it was just such a great opening for our Pennywise in Chapter 1, and Georgie just did it so perfectly.
He's so sweet, and it makes it really sad because he's so cute.
Yeah, he's so lovable.
Yeah, you've hardly even met him for a minute. You've just briefly seen his interactions with Bill, and already you kind of have a bit of an attachment because he's just so sweet. And then he's very brutally killed off, especially for a child.
He is. All that blood going into the sewer. It's just
I mean, he gets his bloody arm ripped off and he crawls across the street trying to get help with his arm ripped off before being dragged back in.
Yeah, oh my gosh. And there's that woman on the fucking balcony who gets there a second too late.
Yeah.
Her cat's watching.
Yeah. It's pretty horrific. It's very shocking, actually. When I saw it at the cinema, I'd seen the miniseries before, and I was kind of just expecting it to do the whole cutaway, zoom in on Pennywise's mouth, and we just know what happens. But they went for it. They fully went for it.
It's his cries as well.
Yeah.
You hear him scream.
He's really crying. It really hits you because obviously it's a child, and we're kind of, I guess, in a way programmed to feel a certain way about that. It's a very brutal opening for the movie, and I feel if you can't handle that kind of thing, this isn't the movie series for you, because it is a lot of violence against children and a lot of death involving children.
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole central thing about it. So it perfectly kind of sets the tone, I think. I mean, it shows the comedy with Georgie when he's running along the street and he hits his head on the barrier.
Yeah, wasn't that made into a meme?
Yeah, it was. Once the trailer came out, it was immediately memed, and it was great. So it's kind of got the comedy in there, but at the same time, it shows you that it is prepared to be a full-on horror movie, and that they're really going for that, I guess in America, R rating, and they're not afraid to kind of show stuff you typically wouldn't see in modern horror movies.
Yeah.
We shall move on, since we're trying to get through to the actors, in particular the kids who played the Losers Club. So we have cast-wise, oh, for God's sake, I've got to try and pronounce this again. We have Jaden Lieberher, I'm definitely pronouncing that wrong, who plays Bill Denborough, Wyatt Olaf, who is Stanley Uris, Jeremy Ray Taylor as Ben Hanscom, Sophia Lillis as Beverly Marsh, Finn Wolfhard as Richie Tozier, probably best known for Stranger Things, and Jack Dylan Grazer as Eddie Kasprak, and then Chosen Jacobs as Mike Hanlon.
Yeah, I think it was such good casting.
It was perfect casting. I don't think they... I went back and I was like looking at videos about the miniseries, and it's like...
The miniseries kids were pretty bad.
Yeah.
They were okay. They couldn't deliver the lines great.
Yeah, it's a very 90s TV movie performance, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, but these kids are so perfectly cast. Like, I'm listening to the book at the moment on an audiobook, and the second that they're mentioning anything about it, I'm picturing those actors in my head. Even though I saw the miniseries first, I'm not ever going to kind of perceive them as anything but those actors, because they just did it so perfectly.
Yeah, and some of the miniseries actors who played the kids were they said they wanted to play the adults in this one.
Really?
Yeah, like reprise their roles because they're now like old enough to be their adult versions.
I know that the kid that played Ben Hanscom in the original, he is in the second one. He is one of the people in the Hanscom and Associates meeting where they're doing the model of the building on the video chat. He's one of the people in the board meeting. So they brought him back. I thought that was cool. It would have been neat to see kind of that happen. So should we run through the characters one by one?
Yeah.
So if we start with Bill, who is played by Jaden Lieberher. Again, I've probably really butchered that. I thought he did a really good job.
I think it's so impressive, especially for a kid actor, when they can hold up like a stutter or like a disability throughout an entire production. Like, that takes so much skill and practice.
Especially like, since I've been listening to the audiobook, the one problem I've been having with it is the way that he's like reading the stutter, because as somebody that has had a stutter, it's kind of like when it's not done properly, it kind of really shows, and it's like I sit there and I'm just like, that's not what it's like. But this kid does it like perfectly. Like, you can see him struggling to get the words out without him over exaggerating it. He's doing it exactly like how I feel when I can't get a word out properly.
Yeah, I think it's just like it is done just so well.
Yeah. It was, I mean, I can't remember too well the kid in the miniseries, but the way this kid's done it, he's got it down to a T. It doesn't seem like he's forcing anything. It seems like they genuinely have like an actor who has a stutter.
Yeah.
Bit of trivia, he actually used YouTube and Colin Firth's performance from The King's Speech to help him research Bill's stutter, and to get used to stuttering certain words, syllables, letters and sounds.
That's so cool.
So, actually went to the trouble of kind of getting into character to learn how to do it properly without just kind of attempting.
I guess you kind of got to, especially now with films, everyone's expecting so much of you.
When it comes to something like a disability or a speech impediment or something,
you've got to be like so careful.
Yeah, because not just because people can be a little bit sensitive, but in my book, for example, it doesn't sound right. It sounds uncomfortable, and it's like you can tell that it's somebody that hasn't had a stutter before and that hasn't been in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
And there's a definite it makes it so much easier and so much more believable when they've obviously very clearly gone to the trouble of researching and getting into character like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's pretty damn good at the whole emotional side of it as well, I think. Like in chapter 2, he's got the bit where he's talking into the drain. He does really well at the whole emotional aspect of it, I think.
Yeah. I think that's what, like, a lot of kids are missing, like, when acting, is that, like, the proper emotion for different situations. Because obviously, like,
yeah,
you know, the actor hasn't actually lost his brother, so
yeah,
and like you don't know if he's like really lost anyone or like kind of been through anything like that. So I think it's really impressive when they can like portray like really adult situations and themes like that well.
Yeah, because it's not just being sad, it's kind of being feeling upset,
it's
and
the grief.
Conflicted. Yeah, it's I mean, there's 5 stages of grief for a reason, and it's like it doesn't just feel like he's sat there and been told like, oh, just cry over it. Like, it really does come across as a character who is grieving for their sibling, and for a child to be able to portray that, I think that's really impressive. I mean, he's only 16 now.
Yeah.
So I don't know how old he was when he was 40. No. Yes, he was 14 when it came out. So he must have been even younger when it was being filmed.
Like 12, 13?
Yes, that's pretty damn impressive, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm just going through the Wikipedia list of characters. Should we, Ben, I guess, talk about him a little bit?
Yeah.
I don't know what really to say about Ben.
He's really sweet, but like...
He's really sweet.
You don't really meet him much. There's not really much to him apart from like he really loves Beverly.
He's
like, yeah, and he's done a lot of the research. He's more like there as the target for the bullying and, you know, like not being loved back, like that sorts of things.
Yeah. He does a very good, like, I think though, so he's played by Jeremy Ray Taylor, who, I'm just looking up how old they are now. Again, he's 16 now. He does a really good job at kind of portraying that childhood crush kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't overdo it, like with like being overly bashful or anything. It's like it seems like it's genuine, which is, I mean, I think that's something that goes for all of the characters, but with what they're going for. But
yeah, it is like really genuine.
He's kind of the like one that does all the research and everything. He's kind of, I would say he's like the level-headed one, but that's probably not actually that true. Yeah, there isn't much to say about Ben, really. There's more to him, I would say, in the second film.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. In which case, speaking of his crush on Beverly, let's go around to Beverly. Nice segue. So, there's quite a lot to her character in this film.
I think the like hardest bit I found with watching her was definitely like seeing like the abuse scenes, because I think she portrayed how it feels like so perfectly.
Yeah, it
like you could really see like how it was being, and like the manipulation behind everything. Yeah,
she did that very well.
Like that was just like genuinely scary.
Yeah, definitely. She kind of like tries to hide it as well in a certain way, and when you see her kind of like trying to,
well, do the guys ever really find out? I don't think they do.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, I don't think it's like just ever addressed that she's gone through this. She
gets away from him at the end, but I mean, like, when that scene when she fights him in the bathroom and everything, there's a really good display of acting on show, I think, there. Like, she goes from being frightened to kind of that fight or flight response.
Yeah.
And it's like, for again, somebody who is probably around, 15 at the time, because she's 17 now, Sophia Lillis, it's a bloody good performance that I think a lot of adults would struggle to do properly.
Yeah, well, a lot of adults, do struggle with scenes like that. So I think it's incredibly well done.
It's such a difficult thing to put yourself in the position of, because people kind of look at things like that and kind of go, oh, well, I would react like this and everything. But I think when you're actually in that situation, it's probably very different.
Yeah, and especially, like, the fact that no one ever found out about it. Because it's never seen that they, like, question her about it or anything.
Yeah. So, she did a really good job. I'd say she was probably one of the, like, not better, because they're all really good, but, like, best ones. In my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, she's one of my favourite characters and actors from the film, definitely.
Yeah. Speaking of favourite characters, you got Richie. I love Richie.
He's such, like, a little shit.
He's so annoying, but, like, I feel like that's me.
He has, like, some of the best lines.
He has some great lines in that fucking movie. It's amazing. So Richie's played by Finn Wolfhard, and he's got a pretty different character to what he plays in Stranger Things, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think Stranger Things, he's still got to be, like, really serious about stuff.
Yeah.
And then this, he, like, just got to play a kid, like, have fun.
He's the clown.
Yeah.
So yeah.
He played it, like, so well.
Yeah, it's like my favourite dynamic in these movies is him and Eddie. They're so funny together.
They are, yeah.
They're great. But, like, so he's kind of he's foul-mouthed, he's the one that makes all the jokes, like, probably like a class clown kind of person. He's kind of the one that annoys everybody and just makes jokes all the time and is probably a bit inappropriate.
Oh, 100%.
And all that stuff.
But you, like, need a character like that in something like this.
Yeah.
Especially,
he's the comic relief.
Yeah, especially with, like, because you had Tim Curry in the other one, and kind of that was the comic relief. You have, like, Richie and his, like, one-liners in this one.
Yeah, and, I mean, I feel like this is a weird statement to say, bearing in mind they are kids, but their dialogue is written so well, because I feel like when adults write for kids and teenagers, they either make them way too young or, like, way too...
Oh god, like, teenagers, are either, like, really, like, childish and, like, they're just, like, annoying.
Yeah.
Or,
but this,
like,
he
overly
seems like
mature.
A real kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. He seems like a real kid, like that. I can see, like, if you were to stick him in, like, a room, it would be like, yeah, I can see that being a real...
Yeah, because he's got, like, that awkward... He's, like, in that awkward stage between, like, adult and, like, teen.
Trying to be a bit outrageous. Like...
Yeah. Because you have that, like... Yeah, you have that, like, stage in your life where, like, you still want to be a kid and do kid stuff, but you also want to, like, sit with the adults and older kids and do that kind of stuff.
And be a bit more mature and, like, talk... It's, like, there's that bit where he's... Bearing in mind, he's supposed to be, what, like 13? 14?
I think so.
And he's got that line, and it's just like, oh, what, can only virgins see this stuff? Is that why I haven't seen it? And it's just like, that's such a accurate thing for, like, a kid that age to say.
That, and especially when, like, is it Eddie who, like, kisses his mum goodbye, and Rich is just like, oh, you want me to, like...
Yeah. It's so good. That, like, I kind of just want a spin-off movie that's just Eddie and Richie.
The untold love story.
It would be so funny. They're just, like, the perfect dynamic of, like, the kid that's, like, really paranoid really easily, and, like, they kind of have, like, that love-hate relationship where they just annoy each other, but they're really good friends, and I love it.
Yeah, it's gonna be, like, Richie is just like, dirt, that's contaminated.
Yeah, and meanwhile he just picks up a stick and, like, chases it chases him around with it. He's such a little shit, but I love him. He's great.
Yeah, I think that's a good segue onto Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie's my other favourite character. Those two, I just love them.
Yeah,
So-
I like that the fact he is, like, he's mature for his age, but it's still, like,
Yeah.
so childlike. So it's just like, well, my mum said this, so...
Yeah. It's like, guys, we can't go down here because have you ever heard of insert illness here? Oh, by the way, my mum said, and it's just
Yeah.
like, he's trying to be very mature, but at the same time, he's just like, he does everything that his mum says. Like, he gives her a kiss goodbye and everything.
Yeah, with his, like, gazebos.
Yeah, with his, they're gazebos, they're bullshit. It's so good. Like, that kid, and like, I mean, you know very well, I'm a hypochondriac.
I
And
do.
it really sucks to live with, but like, and in a way I would feel like in certain movies this kind of thing would be like quite mocking, but
Yeah.
like the way they're doing it, it's really kind of accurate. It's like in particular in the second movie where, because I was rewatching it the other day, when the pharmacist leans over the counter at his mole and he's like, oh, it's not going to pop, it's a mole. And he goes, oh, it could be cancer, but it could not be. And he's like, oh my God, what? That's so accurate. They've written that perfectly. But like at the same time, it's done in such a comedic way and done so well that like
Yeah.
even as somebody with that condition, I can just laugh at it because I'm just like, yeah, I can see how ridiculous we're being, but to us it's so real.
Yeah.
It's really well done. But yeah, him and bloody hell, Richie are definitely my two favourites. Like
Yeah, and I
they're
also...
dynamic.
Yeah, I also found out that, like, a lot of the dialogue, like, between those two was improvised.
Really?
Yeah, like, a lot of the conversations they had together, and I guess, like, a lot of the gags were, were improvised.
Oh, I didn't realise.
Yeah, and
It does seem very natural.
Yeah, that's why I, like, really liked it, because they just had, like, a ton of fun with their characters.
Yeah, they seem so genuine. It's like, I mean, I guess this is from chapter 2, but it's like, it's still the kids' characters. When they're on the hammock and he's like, oh, your 10 minutes are up. He's just like, what do you mean? He's like, it was a verbal agreement. Why would it be written down? And he just like starts like hitting him in the face with his
That like
It's so
whole
good.
scene was so great.
It's great. And then Eddie's a really weird character though, because he like, there's certain bits where he's really like a scaredy cat and he doesn't want to do stuff and he's quite quiet. And then there's other bits like when he goes into the clubhouse and he picks up not the ping pong bat, the thing with the ball attached, and he's just going with it.
Oh
I
my
think
god,
it's
that's
Stan's
my
face.
favourite scene.
Yeah, and he's just
That
like,
was
oh, well
my
done, fuck
favourite
nuts.
scene.
It's my favourite. It's so funny. And he's just gone like hyperactive all of a sudden. It's so good. Like,
Yeah.
Eddie's such a great character. And this is the same kid that's in Shazam, which I think you know by now. I fucking love that
Ugh.
film. He's so good in that as
Ugh.
well. It's really funny. Shazam is such a good film. I'm gonna make you watch it or something.
No, it's
It's
a good.
so good.
It's good. It's not a horror film, so we don't have to cover it.
Shazam. So yeah, I think we can agree that Eddie is a pretty great character. He's very well acted. The kids, his Jack Dylan Grazer is who plays him. I still need to find that T, but he's a very good actor, I think, especially with like comedy. But he very well portrays like the whole being frightened as well, like the bit where he's broken his arm and everything like that. I mean, what is it him that did the thing that you were saying about like he was like gagging and everything?
He was like gagging and like
I
sobbing.
love what you're doing with the
I
character.
was like, oh my god.
I mean, that actor, I follow him on Instagram because he's just really funny. He's just really weird. I'm gonna have to like completely off topic. Anyway, everybody go follow Jack Dylan Grazer on Instagram. He's really funny. So probably onto, I think this might be a good segue into our next bit, because Mike and Stan are a bit more difficult to talk about.
Yes.
So should we start with Mike?
Yeah.
Yes, you can take the lead.
Okay, so yeah,
You've read
with
the book.
with Mike and Stan, like firstly, this is more about like character development, because there's not much there, and like from what I saw of Mike, I liked the actor, like I really did like him. But there is so much more to him, and he has such more of like a pivotal role in the books compared to this. So for example, it is Mike who finds like the grass and cuts all of their hands with it and gives the big speech at the end
Whereas it's Bill in the film.
Yeah. And I just feel like there was some really great like character development that just wasn't given.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel much for him.
No, and I feel like that's quite detrimental in the second film because he's such a big part of it.
Yeah, he has like such a big part in the second one, and I just found it kind of hard to it sounds mean to say like care, but I didn't really. Because you didn't grow attached to him as much as you should have done.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, but like, what did you think of Mike?
Yeah, the same as you. One of the biggest complaints I heard about like chapter 2 in particular is a lot of people saying like, oh, I can't believe Mike would do that kind of thing. Like they're very against him, and I feel like a lot of that is because they're very attached to the other characters like Eddie and Richie and Bill, because they have that development in the first film, whereas Mike, it's harder to like see things from his perspective and to kind of empathize with him more because you don't know him as well.
Yeah.
Which is such a shame, especially because I think there's a lot of things they could have done with his character. Like, they kind of go into the bullying that Stanley gets because he's Jewish. But, like, Mike is the only African-American kid in the area, from what we see. And that could have been quite a big platform for them to talk about, like, race relations and issues.
Yeah,
and it's hardly brought up.
Yeah, there's also a lot about Mike in the book. Because it wasn't brought into chapter 2, which I was surprised about, but he's like motivation for all of the characters to defeat it in chapter 2, whereas like he wasn't really in this one because you just didn't know him.
Yeah,
it was just like, here's this kid who also gets bullied and we're adding him in. He felt very like last minute thrown in. Yeah. Even in the miniseries, I know it was a miniseries, so they had more time, but he felt more developed. Whereas in this one, it kind of just feels like they were like, okay, we've got these 7 characters. We've spent loads of time developing Bill and Eddie and Richie, and we've even given Stan a little bit, but like, we've got this other character, and we just need to quickly chuck him in. Yeah, all you really got was that, like, his parents are dead, he now lives with his uncle on this farm, and he doesn't really want to, like, do that work. I didn't fully understand what had happened with his parents, because it's so hardly gone into. Yeah, it wasn't gone into. The only things you heard were, obviously, where Pennywise uses, like, his memory of his parents, and then, you had the bit about, I think one of the characters in the background is just like, oh, that's the kid who killed his parents. Yeah, it's when he's delivering meat. They say, there's somebody in the shop that says that. Yeah, and that's it. And then you find out he had nothing to bloody do with it. Yeah, and I was so confused about, like, they've got the scene where he first sees Pennywise and it's the hands coming out the door. And when I first saw it, I was just like, what the hell's going on? And if to be honest, when I first saw it, I thought it was like an indirect reference to bloody, like, Walking Dead. I didn't know what it was. I thought maybe it was like he was afraid of zombies or something. Well, yeah, because that's the iconic scene from Walking Dead is the hands around the door. Yeah. So I was like, oh, is he, afraid of zombies? And then it was like... Very poorly done. Yeah, and then I kind of remembered about his parents, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
If you haven't read the book, though, you're going to have no idea what's going on with that kind of thing.
Yeah, Mike, you really need to read the book for.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like I was saying earlier. There's a line in it where Henry Bowers, I think he says something like "Get out of my town," or something, which is obviously because it's the whole racism thing. And in the book, isn't it that his Henry Bowers' dad killed Mike's dad's dog or something like that?
It's something weird like that, yeah.
Because he doesn't like them because they are black, and that kind of thing is quite important. And it's it's pretty much the thing that makes Mike an outcast, whereas in this film it's just
segueing from that to like Stanley kind of thing. The one thing this film misses out is all the context that Derry is very backwards.
It's very judgmental and
it's
everything.
Very backwards in its views and its beliefs, and it does not show that in It Chapter 1. It goes into it a bit in It Chapter 2, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, but even then it doesn't do it that much.
No, it's like in the book it's very like obvious how backwards Derry is, and it works in the book because of the time the book is set. And that's the problem that this film has, is that the film is set in
the 80s and then
this film is set in this film is set in I think the second film is 2016.
The first one's 1988. Well, that's when Georgie dies, and then the second one is 2016.
Yeah. So it's just, obviously like it just doesn't work well.
I mean, I guess it kind of works with things like the beginning of It Chapter 2, and I guess like with the whole thing with Richie, which we'll talk about later, but even then it's like people are a lot more accepting of certain things that wouldn't have been the same back then. Like in the 50s, the fact that Mike is the only black kid in town would have been a huge deal.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it probably would have still been a deal in the 80s, but like when it comes to like modern day, obviously people are still racist and everything and prejudiced, but it's nowhere near like it was back then.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a problem they had, like modernizing it, but it's just
because it's stuff that you just like you can't take out.
Yeah, and it's very important to the book, and yet it's been taken out of the film.
Yeah. But yeah, on to Stanley.
Stan, yeah, speaking of underdeveloped characters.
So yeah, he hardly got anything.
I like Stanley in the book as well. He's really sweet, and it's like especially
it's just
because
that
he's so important to chapter 2.
Yeah, they just like they don't explain enough about his like family and the pressures he's under. Yeah. Like
you don't really
you don't sympathize with him.
You kind of get the fact that he's having is it a bar mitzvah? No.
Something like that.
Yes, it's a bar mitzvah. He's kind of preparing for that, and his father's a rabbi, and he's kind of got this pressure on him because it's a very important time in his life, and especially with like his religion and everything. And that's kind of, we get a little hint of that, and we kind of get a hint that that's one of the reasons he gets made fun of, because he is Jewish, but we don't see a lot about his character. We don't see that he's kind of the most affected by the things that they have you
experience. Never see how affected he is, like, at all.
Yeah. I mean, you see things like, there's the bit where he's being, like, his face is being, like, chewed on by
and he, like, refuses to go into the well house, like, stuff like that. Yeah.
You see he's afraid,
it's never properly done.
Yeah, it's not like, when you get to the second film, there's obviously we'll go into that in a bit, there's obviously a very important scene right near the beginning, and it just kind of plays it off like he's being a bit cowardly, whereas when
Well,
you
I
actually
mean,
know it,
that's
he's
what
so
you're like-
terrified.
That's what you're meant to think until the end.
Yeah, but like,
Is that he was a coward.
Yeah, but he had so little development that it's kind of like, it's supposed to be a very sad scene, and you're just kind of like, oh.
Yeah, I didn't,
Okay.
like, know him at all in this one.
No. I felt sad because I know that him from the book.
The
But
book
it's
really
like-
makes you, like, cry about it.
I was listening back to that scene in the book, and it's heartbreaking, that the way it's written and everything. Because it's the second time I've listened to that bit, and I'm just like, it really gets you. Whereas because it's so, he's so poorly developed, which is a shame, because I think the kid that plays him is good and everything like that. They had good foundation, but it was like, it just didn't work. They didn't put
it's not,
anywhere
like,
near as much as
developed
they needed
enough.
to. Yeah, which is that's a shame. I think that leads us quite nicely to what we think could have been improved about this film.
Yeah.
Start.
Yeah, I think, like, the main thing was just kind of character development.
Yeah.
And, I would have liked to see more of Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, he has 4 minutes of spoken dialogue.
You see so much more of him in chapter 2, and I absolutely loved it.
In a way, I kind of like it, because I feel like the less you see monsters, the scarier they are. But at the same time,
I just
such
wanted a
core
bit
part
more.
of it. Such a core part of it is the scenes with Pennywise.
Yeah.
That it's like, yeah, I feel
The
like
fact that
I
he's,
mean,
like, always there. I just wanted, like, a
Yeah.
few more bits where he, like, you know, comes at them.
yeah,
Because that's
interacted
what,
with them.
like, in chapter 2, you have all the, like, the ways he tormented them. And I thought that
Yes.
should have been added into chapter 1.
Yeah, you only
'Cause
find it out in chapter 2.
That's where the character development is.
Yeah,
Like, that's the real character development, is in those scenes where you find out that it, like, really terrorized them. And,
Yeah.
like, every single one of them throughout the summer, that they just didn't show.
yeah. Whereas in this, it seems like the only experiences they have with it is the ones that we see. So like when they go to Newbolt Street, and then the one in encounter they have. So when you get to the second film and you realize that they had these completely different, even scarier experiences, it's just like, oh, okay.
Well, because I just think, like, it would have put so much more, like,
Yeah.
emotion into them fighting it at the end if I'd have known that he's put them through stuff like that. Because I didn't know, so I'm just like, well, you've only been scared, like, once, so what's the big deal kind of thing? Whereas,
why are you
like,
so determined to take it down when you've only, like,
seen
met
it
it
once?
a couple of times?
Yeah, like, what's kind of going on here? And then,
Yeah,
like, you
whereas-
find out it's not been, like, just those times. It's been going on for, like, absolutely ages.
They've seen
That
it
I was
so many
like,
times.
I wish I'd have known that.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, that's pretty much everything I was going to say as well.
Yeah.
It's pretty much, it's like character development mainly. And I know that they're limited to time because it is obviously it's already a pretty long film, I think, but like, it's
yeah,
just
and I'm not sure, like,
it's-
how they would have fit them in, but just somehow.
Yeah.
Like, I
it's
would have
just such an
liked to
important
see.
thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to see that they had been, like, actually tormented more than, like, what we saw.
Yeah.
So, like, we didn't really see much.
Yeah. But I think that's a pretty good segue into chapter 2, where we do see more of them.
Yes.
So, starting from here, spoilers for It Chapter 2. So if
Well,
you
I
haven't
mean,
seen it,
we kind of already
but
spoiled
more-
a lot.
big spoilers for chapter 2. So, because we're going to start with a quick rundown of what happens, and then we're going to kind of go into more specific sections. So, in this movie, Mike calls back the losers to Derry after he realizes that it is back again. The losers all come back and meet up, and they decide to take down it for one final time, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. I mean, that's all you kind of need to say.
Yeah. It doesn't need to be
It chapter 2. Yeah.
Because I think we'll go into some more specific things when we go into other parts, like if we start off talking about the characters and how they've how they were cast in particular.
Yeah.
The casting is excellent in this movie.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so, like, I don't think they could have done it better. Like, for example, I'm trying to find the name of the James Ranson, who plays Eddie. Like, he looks like he could be
he was so
version
great.
Of him.
Yeah.
He was an excellent casting choice. They all are, though. You can see them being their characters.
Yeah. I think that was just done really well. What I do have to say is there is this thing going around that all the actors were asked, who do you want to play your older self? And it was said that 2 of the actors got it right. Okay. They didn't get it. They didn't, get it right. It wasn't, this amazing thing that happened. They were already cast. So they said who had been cast and just, acted they asked for these actors, so we got them.
Wait, so what's the rumour going around? That the younger
cast were asked in an interview for the next film, who do you want to play your older versions? So they all gave an answer, and 2 of them gave the right answer.
Oh, okay.
Now, that wasn't just a lucky guess. It's because they had already been cast, but they just acted like... I did just say that, Phoebe.
Sorry, I was trying to understand that. I was thinking for a second. So should we go through? Yeah?
Yeah, it was just that it was acted like this big thing, and it was it's because they were
true.
Already cast. Yeah. That's how movie stuff works.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the list as it's listed on Wikipedia. So the first character is Beverly, who's played by Jessica Chastain in part 2. Should we just kind of talk about her character and how it's changed from the first one?
Yeah.
So we see in this part of the film that Beverly's abuse from her childhood from her father has now kind of been carried on into her marriage, where she's a fashion designer now, but her husband is abusive and violent. And it kind of carries over the theme that we see quite a lot in it, that they kind of don't let go of their younger selves, or they carry over a lot of things that they held on to.
It's not that, it's that history has repeated itself because they can't remember their childhood. That's why she has an abusive husband, because she can't remember defeating her father in the first one.
Yeah.
She's she doesn't know really what happened.
Yeah, pretty much everybody, it's the whole thing about history repeating itself. She's in this abusive marriage despite being kind of having this, I guess in a way, she has this guise of being a successful fashion designer, and then secretly she has this abusive relationship, which is kind of like when she was younger, because she never tells anybody about her father.
Yeah. But I think it is just it is just a case of history repeating itself.
Yeah. Just obviously in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
So then there's Bill. You might be a bit better at this because Bill I'm going to find a little bit difficult to talk about for some reason.
Bill is now a horror writer, and Stephen King included him as himself. So Bill is basically a Stephen King, and one thing that was missing...
Self-insert.
Yeah, one thing that was missing from this film was that in the miniseries and the book, Bill's most successful book he's ever written is called The Glowing instead of The Shining. So I really wanted that
would have been funny.
I wanted there's a Stephen King cameo in this, and he holds up Bill's book, and I really wanted him to hold up The Glowing because that would have just
really
been
funny.
so funny.
That would have been great.
Yeah, but Bill's this successful writer.
That can't write endings.
He can't write good endings. That's the main
works
thing.
Are great,
and that was
his
the
endings are bad.
jab at that King wrote about himself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people said to Stephen King.
I had a feeling that, because I was hearing different things, because some people, there were rumours going around about it's because not everyone was happy with the way this film ended, so some people were saying it's because the writers knew that not everyone would be happy with it, and then I heard other people saying about the fact that it's because of this reason and that reason. So I was wondering what that was about, or if it was just a running gag.
Yeah, no, I've had
that makes sense.
It is Stephen King wrote it, 'cause that's what a lot of people say about him.
Yeah.
So Bill is basically Stephen King.
He's a self-insert in his fan fiction.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah. And he's married to an actress. What's her name? It's Audra something. I want to call her fucking Audra Bradford because that shitty Sonic dies in jail fan fiction. I don't know why that's immediately what comes to mind. But it's not Audra Bradford who married a blue hedgehog. So yeah, she's an actress. He's he's very successful, but he's again, they've all forgotten about everything. So he's forgotten about Georgie.
Oh, and he works. His film's being made by Warner Brothers. So that was the cheapest fucking shot.
It was.
All they had to do was walk outside of the set.
A few people in the cinema laughed when I saw that the second time round, when they saw that. It was quite funny.
Yeah. Well, because all they had to do was take one step outside. They already had all the crew on set. They just had to be the Warnerverse.
Yeah, it's...
I wonder if they used his actual trailer.
That'd be quite funny.
Well, because that would have been the cheapest.
Mm. It turns out they've accidentally left a copy of the script for It Chapter 2 in the background or something.
Oof. You just see Bill out of makeup out the window.
Yes. He's just walking around. That would be so funny. Or better yet, they've left him in makeup.
Just
so he's,
Pennywise wandering around. He's just hey!
That'd be, and he sees the camera and he just ducks and walks off. That'd be so
He just
funny.
sees the camera and does finger guns.
Oh my god, I want to see that now. At director of It Chapter 2, who is it, Andy Muschietti? Please tell me you have that on camera. I want to see it on the Blu-ray extras. We know it happened. So Ben is now a successful architect.
Yes.
And actually, something that I thought was quite interesting because
he owns the business.
Yeah.
He's not just an architect, he owns the business. Yeah, he has
Hanscom and Associates or something like that.
Yeah.
Which, fun fact, the kid that originally played Ben Hanscom in the original miniseries from 1990, he's actually in the board meeting as a member of the Associates. That's quite cool. Like, there's a picture of them together, and I was just thinking that was quite cool.
Nice.
He looks exactly the same as well. But, yeah, Ben's changed a lot. He's gone from being, like, kind of the chubby kid to being, he's very, like, stereotypically good looking. He's, like, ripped, and he's attractive, and it's like, he's changed a lot, like, physically.
He's had a glow up.
He has. I just fucking love the shot where he's, like, he's on the chat to the people at the, at his company, and then he gets the call from Derry, and it just pans out, and he's wearing, like, he's got his, like, proper suit and everything on the top half, and he's wearing pajama bottoms. I just thought that was really funny.
That would be me.
That's such a mood. But yeah, so and he still has Beverly's letter, the bit of paper she signed in his yearbook, in his wallet. So
Yeah.
I guess he still remembers her.
Yeah, like, if they remember, like, bits, but they don't remember anything about Pennywise or anything to do with Pennywise.
Yeah. But that's quite sweet. It's like, I don't know, that's kind of cute. It makes me smile. It's really sweet. I'm a real loser for stuff like that. We also meet Richie, who's fucking played by Bill Hader. That's probably, like, one of my favorites.
Great.
He's so funny. He's a stand-up comic. Oh, I completely forgot what I was supposed to say. Sorry, going back to Ben quickly. In the book, because it's only, like, where I've got up to in the book, he isn't he, like, I mean, I wouldn't say an alcoholic, but there's, like, bits where he goes to a bar a lot, and it's, like, commented on that he supposedly drinks a lot. That's not in this film at all.
No.
I just thought that was quite interesting, because quite a bit of the book, like, there's quite a lengthy bit where they talk about that in the book, that I would think it would be quite important to the character, but it's completely cut out of this one.
Yeah, it was like, I don't think it was really needed, because you needed Richie to still be comic relief.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's because he's the comedian.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Richie, going back to him, he's now a stand-up comedian in, well, it says here, in LA, and I fucking love Richie. He's so good. He throws up when he gets told about
like, just
returning.
as he's about to go on stage.
Yeah, and everyone's
And they're just like,
oh
God, are you okay? Can I get you a drink? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine.
his like, whoever it was with him, like the guy that was bringing him to the stage and everything, he was the best. I want somebody like that in my life. Yeah, he goes on stage and he forgets his joke. And everyone's like, oh, you suck and everything. And more or less that it cuts there. But, I mean, I think we're gonna go into the more character development with him later, right? Because that's kind of the core part of his role in this film that I would talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to Eddie, who now is a risk assessor in New York, which perfect. Isn't he a limo driver in the book?
It's something weird like that.
Yeah.
I think this job just, like, fits him so much better, though. It's so funny.
It's perfect. And, he's a fucking risk assessor and then immediately crashes his car. That's just quite ironic.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so he's now married to a woman called Myra, who, funnily enough, is played by the same actress that played his mother in the chapter 1, because in the book she's described as more or less being exactly like his mother, isn't she?
Yeah.
Again,
he basically marries his mum.
Yeah.
It's
he's
the
like,
joke.
Yeah. He's literally, like, again, it's the whole history repeating itself, but it's kind of played quite comedically, I think. And he gets the phone call from Derry, and he puts the phone, and because she's like, oh, you didn't say I love you, and he's like, oh, for God's sake, I'm working, and then he sees it's from Derry, the phone call, and he goes, okay, I love you, mummy, and puts the phone down.
Yeah.
That was really funny.
And she's just like, wait, what?
Yeah, and he just puts it down, and like he crashes his car. Eddie is I would say he's probably the one that's like changed the least. He's still he's still paranoid about everything. Like his health and just health things in general. He's still obviously got like an overbearing person that he's living with more or less the same personality. But he's really funny. Again, his dynamic with Richie in this is just fucking perfect.
Yeah, it's just like they pick up where they left off kind of thing. Yeah. And I really like that.
They've perfectly got down the dynamic between the two characters, Bill Hader and James Ranson. Like, I would say probably they were the best at picking up their characters' personalities and adjusting them from when they're kids into adults.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what I found. Like, they perfectly embody you can see them being their own characters. Like when Richie walks off after like just yelling at that kid and he's like, oh, I don't write my own material, and he just goes, I knew it, I fucking knew it.
Yeah, like great. That whole thing is so great.
It's great. They just insult, and they're sitting around the table and he's like, oh yeah, I got married, didn't you hear? And they're just like, no. And he goes, and he looks at Eddie and just goes, oh yeah, me and your mum have been very happy. He's like, fuck you, dude. Again, I just want a movie that's just Richie and Eddie, and it's like both when they were kids and now, because they're just perfect. I love them.
Yeah.
And the last loser that we actually get to, properly meet is Mike, who, again, do you want to talk more? Because I feel like you're quite passionate about talking about Mike's role in this film.
I am, because I love him so much in the book, and there's so much they missed out.
Go.
I mean, most of it I can't talk about until a bit later.
Yeah, the character development. Yeah.
Well, we can go into that now.
Yeah.
But
we can just do some
he's
of that now.
Yeah, okay. Mike has stayed behind in Derry because he feels like it's his duty to find out ways to defeat it and find out more about Pennywise, how he got here, and kind of he feels it's his duty to wait to see if Pennywise comes back.
Yeah.
And the main difference is that in this film he plays a pivotal role throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
Whereas like he gets a ton more character development than in the book and the miniseries, because in those two, in the first Ritual of Chud, Mike is injured. Oh no, it's not in the first Ritual. It's the bully.
Yeah, Henry Bowers.
Henry goes after Mike and stabs him. And he's like really badly injured, and he gets hospitalized for the end fight. Yeah. And that's kind of what makes all the losers band together to like properly go back and fight it, because before they're just a bit like, oh, like what do we do? I don't know what we're doing kind of thing. And it's like that makes them like, no, we have to stop this. Yeah. Like that's the role that Mike kind of plays. Yeah. In that. But in this, it's like he's found out like everything. He's kind of obsessive. He's really like changed since he was a kid. Yeah. And although I kind of liked his version, I wanted kind of them to portray Mike as they did in the miniseries in the book, like, and in the book more. Yeah. He's just a bit more likable. Yeah. I guess, and he like goes through all his research. Yeah. Like in that kind of way. And yeah, and in this film, it's Mike who finds, who, like, goes to a tribe and they tell him about the ritual of Chud, and they worship Maturin. And okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they worship Maturin. That's fine. It's his followers who have
Isn't
who have
Maturin
told
like a drink
him.
or something in this version?
No, that
Because they go like, oh, they gave me their Maturin.
Oh no, that's who they follow.
Oh.
It was like a drink of maybe him or something.
I
But
don't know, yeah.
like, goddamn, I want it, and I want Maturin, and I want a fucking space turtle.
I want a multi-dimensional giant space turtle.
Yes, stop being pussies.
Fuck's
Give
sake.
me the turtle and
Don't
fucking
just give me like hints.
give me the turtle to like tell them what's going on. I want the fucking turtle.
It's very important.
100%.
Yeah, I found Mike's like his kind of, it was quite jarring, like the transition between this one and the last movie.
Yeah,
because
it's just
he goes
like,
from being such a side character to being so important. Like he narrates the opening.
yeah,
it's
it
like,
was
oh.
just like really annoying because in the like mini-series in the book, he's still like really reserved and like the calm one and the rational one. Whereas in this one, he's so like compulsive. It just kind of takes away from the character they built on.
Yeah, he just kind of like he keeps everything from everybody, and he just kind of decides like.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a great development.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and it's kind of weird that they only decide to go into like his history with his parents and everything now.
Yeah, I was just like,
There's
know
a
what?
lot of weird choices with when it comes to Mike this
Yeah, and it's just like the fact he's bought that like fucking police radio.
Yeah.
To like
well, he's
listen
in the police, right?
No.
Oh, I thought he was.
No, he's a librarian. He's the town's librarian, but anyone can buy a you have to buy a special type of radio, and if you know the frequency, you can just like tune into police radios and stuff, which is what he's done.
It's because he shows up at the crime scene.
Yeah, it's because he's listening into the police radios because he's looking out for Pennywise. So he's like turning up to every crime scene just to make sure.
In which case, they should probably be a bit more careful with who they're letting into their crime scene.
Well, exactly. Like, it was just a bit weird, and I think it's so weird that like he does that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I thought it was really weird, like, that's the one you turn up to kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, like, if you've been turning up to, like, every kid's crime scene, like, surely you've been questioned at some point.
Yeah, like, you would think, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, this guy's been turning up to all these missing people or murdered people
in,
in
like,
crime scenes.
Yeah, in the original one, he finds out through, like, newspapers. He, like, just shows all of them his, like, newspaper cuttings, and he's just like, yeah, he's back.
Yeah.
Rather than, like, I've been doing all this stalkerish, like, police research. It was just a bit like, that's not Mike.
Gotten me on a watch list.
Yeah, it was just a bit like, you know, you've built out this character of Mike who's really sensitive and, like, quiet and level-headed, and now you've, like, done this with him.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand the development there.
Yeah. Well, I think, speaking of, like, character development and the fact that we were speaking of characters that didn't have much in the original, is probably a good way to move on to Stan.
Yeah,
He has a very, 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 very minor role in this film.
Yeah,
well,
he really does.
And it's, again, so we were mentioning earlier about there's a very sad scene with Stan. First, though, I would just like to say, played by Andy Bean as an adult, again, like, they've nailed getting an actor that looks like he could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he gets a call. Well, they've got that really weird transition where it goes from, I can't remember, is it Beverly? And then it goes to Stan, and it's like they look up at the sky and it's
the puzzle piece.
Puzzle. It's so weird. It was so weird. But yeah, Stan gets the call from Mike, and he seems to immediately remember everything. Because he's
I think it was because he was the one who was most affected by it and so traumatized by it. That even like, no, he forgot, but even like the mention of Derry brings it all back, and it's like too much.
Well, like in the book, him and his wife Patty, they're trying to have a baby, aren't they?
And they can't.
They can't, and the doctor's saying it could be something like that you're just like mentally blocking it. And it's kind of like heavily implied that it's because Stanley he still has all this trauma from Derry.
Yeah.
So yeah, after he gets the phone call, he goes up to the bathroom and he commits suicide in the bathtub, which is, it's a really upsetting scene in the book.
It was upsetting, but I do have to commend them on how they filmed that. Because that could have been so untasteful and hurtful.
When you've got shit like 13 Reasons Why that came out recently, and they've done it. You need to be
so careful with things like that. And the fact that they did it, like, they didn't show you him doing it. They showed you before and they cut to after. And I was just really pleased about that.
They don't, like, show reactions of, like, Patty or anything either, because, I mean, she's upset on the phone the next day.
They didn't need to.
No, they've stuck to, because there are guidelines of how you're supposed to kind of portray those kind of things in a safe way, and they've stuck to it very well in a way that a show like 13 Reasons Why didn't. And bear in mind, that's a show that's supposed to, like, be a message. This did it so tastefully, and I think in a very good way.
Yeah, it's just like that's like the scene I was afraid of, like, coming into the film. Yeah. It's like I don't want to sit there and I don't want to watch someone do that.
Yeah.
Because especially like since the scene with Georgie, I was like, okay, if they're gonna do that, like, what else are they gonna show?
Yeah, and I mean later in the film they show the bit where they do the blood oath and they really show the glass going into their hands.
Ugh, yeah, I can't do stuff like that.
No, I was really worried that they would pull a 13 Reasons Why, but they didn't. They did it very tastefully, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's like, it is good.
Commend the filmmakers for that, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, because of the lack of character development in the first one, which I think a lot of his scenes were deleted. I could be wrong about that. It's just, I have a feeling I've heard that somewhere. Because of the lack of his development in the first film, you don't get hit with the emotion that you should.
Yeah, you don't really, like, know much about the character until this one.
Yeah.
It's not until later on in the film when, is it Richie, like, goes and explores the synagogue that you find out, like, what happened with his
the extended bit of his bar mitzvah.
Yeah, and you find out, like, yeah,
and he's like Richie's the only. Again, it's kind of implied that, like, because Stan is one of the original group, because originally it's just it's Bill, Stan, Eddie, and Richie. So obviously they're probably the closest because they've known each other the longest.
Well, that's why I thought it was odd that, like, he just didn't get much character development since he is one of the original. Like, show more of him.
Yeah, so it's like Richie does go to the memoriam and he's the only person there and he goes, like, thanks for showing up, Stan. Which is, it should be really upsetting, but because you don't see that development of their characters. I mean, even in the flashbacks, I mean, yeah, he gets them the shower caps, but he doesn't even really have much character development in this bit.
Yeah.
Which is, it's strange, but yeah,
so
you
just needed more.
Yeah, commend the filmmakers for their take on the suicide scene, but at the same time, they really needed more character development in the first one, and kind of in this one, in order to have that feeling, especially when at the end of the film they have the letters from Stan, which, if they had developed him more in the middle of this movie...
Then, when you realise, like, why he didn't turn up?
Because
like,
he was
never
doing
really
it to take himself out.
Yeah, because he knew that if he was there, they would have all been defeated.
He wasn't being a coward, he was being selfless. So he was trying, by committing suicide, he has given, although he's taken his own life, he's given them a better chance at living and surviving.
Yeah.
Which is, it's really sad, but again, like, it's so not well developed and brought up to.
Yeah, I just found that, like, it was just disappointing.
Yeah. So, character development wise, I would say, of course we can, there's not much to talk about, I think, that we haven't touched on.
I mean, you have Richie.
Yeah, because I was going to say, if we end with him, like, sure, you've, like, Bill, his stutter comes back a little bit, he remembers everything about Georgie, and he feels responsible, which you have reflected in the kid that he tries to save.
Yeah.
Which, I have to talk about it. I have to talk about it. Okay. To anybody
we need help.
If you've got this far, when I watched this film the first time, I swear, that skateboard that comes down the stairs when it's Bill and Beverly, I swear on the bottom of the skateboard it says, won't be there for him either, with the stutter to make fun of Bill's stutter. And yet, I went to see it the other day for a second time, and now it just says, what is it? It says, won't be there for him either. And yet I have a pop vinyl of that bit, an exclusive one that has the be there, and I remember it. And I found it on this app I have on my phone, and it says, won't be there for him either. It's driving me insane. If anybody remembers what they saw, please, for the love of God, tell me, because it's doing my head in. Completely off topic, I just had to say that. Yeah, so you've kind of got, like, his guilt for letting Georgie die being reflected over with trying to make up for it with the kid.
Yeah, but that's kind of like it.
Yeah, that's more or less his, and with, I guess the same with Beverly and Ben. I mean, Beverly is able to leave behind her husband, like, she runs out of the house and everything, similar to how she did. She finally fought against her father, and I guess Ben finally, like, tells her that he loves her, but it's like, that's pretty much their development in this movie.
Yeah, and you've got, like, Eddie getting over his, like, fears.
Yeah, he leaves his mum in the basement, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And that bit in the pharmacy, which is the weirdest, it's got the weirdest music choice ever.
Oh, fuck, yeah. That was a fucking
so fucking
scene.
weird. Whoever edited that, no.
I love them, but no.
Learn to edit, it's bizarre.
It was so weird.
It was, but I think we all know the character that we probably need to talk about the most is Richie. Yeah. Do you want to start?
You go. Who's your favourite?
Okay. So
that was so, like, enthusiastic. Okay.
I know. I, like, shuffled forward in my chair and everything. So, at one point in this movie, Richie's kind of flashback to his incident with Pennywise, because he didn't really have one apart from the clown room in the original. He was at the theatre playing Street Fighter with another boy who isn't he the cousin of Henry Bowers?
Pardon?
Isn't he Henry Bowers?
Yeah. I zoned out.
He wants to play, like, another game with him, and Bowers comes in with his, like, group, and he kind of goes, oh,
he,
stop
like,
hitting
makes
on
it
me.
seem like, he makes it seem gay, whereas, like, it's, like, literally just kids having fun, playing games.
And obviously, like, then they kind of use, like, the F slur and everything against him. And he gets quite upset and runs off, which is kind of like the first indication that there's something else there. and Pennywise follows him with a fucking Paul Bunyan statue that we talked about last time. And he
we
sings
love
that,
Paul
like,
Bunyan.
I know your secret, your dirty little secret. So it's kind of hinted at throughout the film that there's something going on that he hasn't told anybody. And at one point we see him carving in R+ into what was actually the kissing bridge. And we don't see what he wrote till the end of it. But yeah, so by the end of the film, after the incident, oh my god, my heart. So when they're fighting against Pennywise at the end, Eddie, he gets caught in the deadlights, and Eddie kind of, he throws that spear at Pennywise. I guess that's actually a bit of character development for Eddie, because there's a scene before where he's too afraid to help Richie being attacked by, like, Stanley's head as a spider.
That was so weird. That really creeped me out.
But he finally kind of builds up the courage in order to do it, and he basically saves Richie. But then in the process, when he's kind of going, oh, like, I think I've got him, he gets stabbed through the back by...
That was so, like, hard
Pennywise.
to watch.
It's so... I mean, I knew it was coming and it was so upsetting. But, like, that isn't even the worst bit. Like, for me, they leave him there because, obviously, they need to take down Pennywise once and for all. And they do defeat him. They, like, rip his heart out and squeeze it.
Okay, but that was, like, so weird.
It was. But yeah, so Richie... he remembers that Eddie's there, and he runs over and he's dead, and oh my god, it hurts. He turns to everyone, he just goes, he's fine, we just need to go and get him help.
Oh.
My weakness, I've said this before, it's what happened with Endgame. People denying that there's something bad, that is my weakness, like saying you're gonna be okay. And he's like, he's fine, we just need to get him to a hospital. And they're like, and Beverly says, like, Richie, he's dead, and he hugs him and has to get dragged off of him, and they have to drag him through the house, and he's like screaming, going, we need to get him out. And it's like that level of denial, and he's so upset, and like when he cries in the river when they've gone river jumping, and because it's Eddie's blood on his glasses, and it's just so, it's really, that was the bit that really upset me, and it's the bit I still think about. And then later on we realise he goes back to the kissing bridge, and we see him as a kid and him now, and what he had actually carved into the bridge was R+E, which, I mean, it implies that he had feelings for Eddie that were more than being friends, but he was too afraid to confront, like, his sexuality and everything.
Yeah.
It's so sad. It makes me really upset. You've probably seen my fucking Tumblr, so you know how upset I am about it. It's like, oh my god, that bit hurt. It was really sad. I'm very emotional over this fucking movie and these fucking characters.
Oh, Phoebe!
I feel really upset. I want to cry.
Well, like, a segue from that then.
I'm very emotional.
Oh, Phoebe! Like... Okay, a segue from this is the start of the film.
There is, sticking with, like, the theme of, I'm sniffling! I'm very emotional! Okay, I get very attached to my fictional characters, okay? Speaking of, like, the whole theme with, like, Derry being very backwards and homosexuality and everything. Let me just sniff. There's the scene with Adrian Mellon, which I was very surprised to see, because this is like one of the opening bits in the book, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's like such an important scene in the book.
Yeah, definitely.
That I was kind of like missing it in the first one.
Yeah,
It's like, I wonder when this is gonna come in.
I was glad that they put it in, because it's such an important bit of showing how Derry is very backwards, and it makes you really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I know it's really, like, controversial at the moment, but, like, you have to understand what they were going for, and I think a lot of people watching this film really misinterpreted it.
Yeah.
It's not white people you know, it's not white people always killing off gay people. Look, you know, it's a sign of the times. These hate crimes are still going on. They will always still go on. And it is us as filmmakers who choose to bring these crimes to your screens in order to make you aware that they are there and they are happening.
Yeah.
And for you to see the brutality of it, because that scene was brutal.
It was. When he's
And
getting,
it
like,
is-
kicked.
Yes, it is
You
our
can feel
job.
it. It hurts.
Yeah, it is our job to make you feel that shock to see that. And if you
Yeah.
are gay,
That
or
would be
part
really
of the
hard to watch, I
LGBT plus community, and you saw that and you got upset by that, that was the intention. It's not an attack
Yeah.
on you. It wasn't the filmmakers attacking you. It's showing the people who aren't from your community how brutal these crimes can be and bringing them into the media for us to discuss. Yes, it is
Yeah.
controversial that it was in there, but it is controversial that it is happening in today's world. So, like, I don't think it's right that everyone's, you know, like, oh, how dare they add that in? How dare you always pick on the gay people? It's not an attack. Like, it's not an attack on you. It's the complete opposite. We're on your side. We are just trying to bring it to the forefront. This is what happens in,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, I'm not part of the LGBT community or anything, but the way I saw it, it was bringing to light the fact that, yes, we're much more accepting these days of people that would be considered different.
But it can still happen.
Yeah, but it still happens. There are still people out there that will hate people for something that they can't control, like the colour of their skin or their sexuality. And it's supposed to... Sure, there might be some awful person out there who watches this film that does hate gay people, and they think, yeah, that insert character here.
Yeah, but it's
But-
meant to, you know,
but
you're
the
meant to
point
sit
of
there and
it-
you're meant to feel awful.
Yeah, the point of it is that it's supposed to show people how brutal these attacks can be for something that it's just a part of who they are. And it's supposed to make you uncomfortable, and it's supposed to make you realise that even today these things are happening. I mean, for me, when I was watching it, even the second time round, I was like cringing, and you felt it, like, when every time they kicked him.
It was
and every
really
time they
hard
punched him.
to watch.
It was difficult to watch. It really
Yeah.
was. And it's like, I mean, these characters, you only saw them for a few minutes, and their relationship for a few minutes, and, like, I could feel the pain that, like, I can't remember what his partner's called, but
Yeah.
you could Don Haggerty, that's it. You could feel, like, the pain when he's screaming for Adrian after he's gone over the bridge. It really hurts, and it's like, I think it was a very effective way of showing something like that, because they didn't shy away from, like, they used slurs and everything. They didn't shy away from what it's actually like to be in that situation. And
Yeah.
yeah,
But
I
that's
mean,
kind
I
of
could see why
like-
people might be upset, but it's a very effective scene, I think.
Yeah, well, that's why I kind of wanted to address it.
Yeah. I mean, I can see why people sometimes get upset with, like, gay characters do very often get killed off. Like, is it The 100 that happened in? But this entire scene is there. It's not there because it's like, here's a gay character, oh, and then we're just going to kill them. The whole point is they are introduced. It's very important that they're gay because the point is it's a hate crime.
It still happens, and although it's not like, it's not as regular as it was and people's attitudes have changed, we're still, like, you know, everyone's still fighting for that acceptance everywhere kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like, it just needed to be addressed.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Is that kind of all we have to say about that scene?
I mean, like, the last thing I wanted to say was that bit where, like, was it Adrian is, like, in the water?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh, there's someone there to help him. It's all okay. And then it's fucking
Nope,
Pennywise.
It's fucking Pennywise. I've got to say, the memes that have been coming out of this movie, because everyone's like, oh, the first movie when everyone was saying like, oh, Pennywise and the Babadook are like gay icons, and now they were like LGBT icons, and now everyone's like, oh no, Pennywise is a homophobic clown.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I just thought that was really funny. It's, oh my
Yeah.
god. Anyway, it's just quite funny how it's gone from
Oh my god, no, okay. To lighten the mood, I realised something when watching It Chapter 2.
What's that?
Pennywise sounds like Winnie the Pooh.
Oh my god, I know!
I pointed it
ruined
out
that
in
for
the
me.
cinema, and now
The
we
second
can't,
time I
like,
saw it.
unhear it.
The second time I saw it, I turned to the person I was in the cinema with and went, hey, Penny the Wise. Pennywise sounds like Winnie the Pooh. And they just looked at me and went, oh, fuck's sake. You can't unhear it.
He does, and I hate it so much.
He really does. I hate it. Thanks a lot, Bill Skarsgård. You sound like Winnie the Pooh when you're trying to be Pennywise the dancing clown. Fuck's sake.
Damn.
Thanks, Greg. You ruined it for me.
You're welcome.
I kind of want like Winnie the Pooh, but like it's like a killer clown instead, or alternatively somebody just re-edits the trailer but they like put Winnie the Pooh in it where Pennywise is.
It's just like Pennywise opens his mouth and like just starts talking about honey.
Or it's like
You
you've got
replace
these
like
clips.
Georgie with like Piglet.
Yeah, and they've got like clips of Winnie the Pooh and he just starts talking about eating children, or like somebody just photoshops him into scenes. They don't even have to change his like fucking voice because it's exactly the same.
Damn.
Oh my god, I hate you for that. You've ruined it for me. But I swear it's worse in the second film than the first film.
It is. Like, it's just the second one, because I was watching, like, the first one recently, and
Yeah.
it's, like, not that obvious, but, like, because he has more lines in the second one.
Maybe that's why he didn't have many lines in the first one. They were like,
Yeah.
Bill, you sound like Winnie the Pooh. And he just went, I was about
Oh,
to say zoinks.
yeah.
That's the wrong fucking thing.
Like, character development, like, what did you think of, like, the Pennywise character development? Because we saw a lot more of him in this film.
Yes, but no mention of giant space turtles, 0 out of 10.
Damn.
I don't approve. No, actually, I liked the fact that they kind of showed its origin, but they still kept it quite mysterious.
Yeah.
They didn't like full out show like, oh, it came to Earth, and then they show it like crawling out from the Earth or anything.
Yeah, well, it's just like the main scene that comes to mind in this film is when Pennywise appears as a firefly to that young girl and draws her
God, that
under the
scene's fucking
bleachers.
brutal.
Like, that was like his just performance then
Yeah.
was just so great.
You
And like
see
you've
as
never
well-
seen like that kind of side to him yet.
I was gonna say, you can see where he's developed over time, like how he
yeah,
can
like the
lure children in.
emotion.
Yeah, like he
Yeah.
gets like he pretends to be upset because he's manipulating.
Oh,
her,
and that
then he's
little
like,
girl.
Yeah, and he's like, oh,
When
I can
he's
get
like,
rid of your
I'll
birthmark.
blow it away. Like,
Yeah.
count to 3. And it's just like, 1, 2.
Two.
And she's like, oh,
You're
where's...
supposed to say 3. Chomp!
You're like, no!
Yeah. And you saw her earlier in the scene with Adrian Mellon as well, so you're already a little bit more attached to her because you know who she is. Yeah, and I mean, exactly the same thing happened with the kid that Bill tries to save. You've seen him twice before, and then he just gets fucking chomped on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, overall thoughts on chapter 2?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too.
Like, I really enjoyed it. I was disappointed with,
The lack of Maturin.
that.
The
But
lack
also,
of Maturin.
that too. No, I was just like, I was disappointed with the fact that they didn't like add in a lot of content from the book that kind of needed to be there. Just wasn't
Like
there. Like the fact that at the end they all remember everything.
At the end of the book, don't they forget though?
Yes, the end
Yeah.
of the book, the only person who remembers is Mike, and that's when you find out the whole book is sort of from Mike's perspective, because he's written down everything in this book just in case it comes back.
Oh, I see. As like
and
a guide for the next person.
Yes, and it ends with him saying, the only reason I remember all this is because of this book. And he's like saying that from his hospital room.
I see.
Yeah, and like everyone else just goes on with their lives, like leaves the town. Because in the end of the book, the town all falls apart. Because it was its life force holding it together. So the whole of downtown completely is destroyed by this huge storm.
Whereas in the film, it's just the house that gets destroyed.
Yeah, and then they all like leave and remember everything. And I just like, I wanted that tiny little detail. Because it's the thought that what if it isn't gone?
I guess in the book as well, don't they have the bit where Pennywise... It lays eggs, doesn't it? And isn't it Ben that goes around stomping them out? And he goes, I think I got all of them. And it's like implied that he might not have, because then like I've been watching film theory because then like it has like references in other Stephen King books that take place after it.
Yes, one of the characters actually meets it when he goes to Derry.
Yeah. And
this is like years and years and years after everything has happened. He turns up in the old steel works.
Yeah.
Where they're terrorized in the book, and he only appears for like a scene, but it like turns up and makes fun of him.
Yeah, and since like characters
you
cross
find
over
out that he's gone.
Yeah, since characters cross over sometimes in the Stephen King books, we can presume that it's all like a shared universe.
It's the new big universe.
Yeah. It was the OG cinematic universe.
Oof.
Bookamatic universe. I don't fucking know. Yeah, so I mean, okay, again, I have to go off about this. Again, I'm very conflicted because in a way it makes me like, I like the fact that they remember everything. Because it brings that sense of finality, and it doesn't feel like they're just going to go and make another movie because they're like, haha, we left it open. And I think it closes it off quite nicely.
Yeah, although I am kind of worried that if this film does as well as
apparently
it did
there might be a
second
prequel.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. But like the fact that they remember everything, like the fact that they've overcome their fear of it instead of like repressing it and everything. But at the same time, it hurts because now I know that Richie's gonna remember Eddie the whole time, and the fact that he's dead, and now I'm emotional again.
Phoebe.
My audio on that, I just got like this big bar of white on my audio wave now.
Oh, no.
I'm
before it gets too emotional, let's rate both films out of Quentin's. 10
nice
Quentins.
Segue. For reference, Quentin is not Quentin Tarantino. Quentin is an amazingly drawn horse by me.
He's our mascot.
He's our mascot. Quentin the horse. He's iconic. Yes, we're not rating movies out of Tarantino's. So, Greg, for part 1, what do you give it chapter
Part 1, I'm gonna give it like an 8.
I give it an 8. That's exactly
I really
what
enjoyed it. I thought it was brilliant.
Apart from
like we haven't seen something like that in ages.
It's not very often that movies are able to balance out comedy and horror so well, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So, on the other hand, what do you give chapter 2?
I give chapter 2 a 7.
I give chapter 2 a 6.
Ooh.
Because
I enjoyed it like just as much as I did chapter 1.
Oh
and
yeah,
I, know,
I think I might have enjoyed it like
I
think
I enjoyed it like a bit more.
Yeah.
Like with there was more comedy in it.
Yeah,
but I have
like
to
the
give
bits
it a
when they're
7
kids. Yeah.
just for what they missed out.
Yeah, I felt like this one was a little bit more inconsistent with its tone. Like, there's quite a few bits where it's scary and all of a sudden it stops to tell a joke. Or like when they're in the Chinese and then there's the singing heads in the fish tank. Or that weird song choice with Eddie and the leper in the pharmacy.
Yeah.
I feel like this one wasn't as tightly written. So it was a good film. I would say it's like closer to a 7. It's close to a 7.
6.5.
Yeah, like 6.5.
Half a Quentin.
Yeah. It gets a
Poor
Quentin
Quentin.
head. It gets a Quentin head.
Damn.
Nice. It's like
Beheaded,
it's like,
damn Quentin.
that's what happened to the kid from the Easter egg hunt. He got beheaded for a review. But yeah, 6.5 Quentins out of 10 for chapter 2, 8 for the first one. I
Nice.
thoroughly enjoyed it. I would say like I even would say I enjoyed this one probably more purely for the comedy.
Yeah.
But in terms of filmmaking and how well I think it was done and the choices they made, I feel like the first one was just a bit better.
Yeah. I thought there was definitely more content in this one.
Oh yeah.
So I think
But at
like,
the same
that's
time,
where
it
it kind
feels-
of lacked a bit.
Yeah, it
Because there
feels
was
kind of
so
crammed in
much to
places
it.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that is that everything for our
That's
thoughts
a
on
wrap up for this episode.
Yeah, so thank you for listening. That was our talk about It Chapter 1 and 2, the second part from last week where we talked about Pennywise. Next week, we will be doing an episode that I'm really looking forward to, childhood trauma. I would just like to quickly give shout out, like, props to Your Movie Sucks, who came out with the original concept for this, although you probably know that if you're watching this. His series, Childhood Trauma, talking about media that scared him as a child. A lot of other people ended up making videos, and I thought it'd be quite interesting to go into the media that scared us as children and kind of what got us into the horror genre in the first place. So,
Nice.
yeah, nice. Thank you for watching. If you press, I was about to say if you press like, but this is on multiple platforms. Thank you for watching. Anybody that made it to the end will
You can
flip
like
to...
us on SoundCloud and on YouTube.
Oh, yes, and we have Twitter, before I have to add that again. We are at Podcast Fright, I believe, on...
Yes.
I don't even know my fucking Twitter. Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter. Please, for the love of God, tell me what you remember the skateboard saying under it, because it's driving me insane. And that is all. Thank you for watching, and then you'll float too.
I think you mean listening, but thank you.